a little show of weakness, then your enemies will use it against you. Come see wetin dey happen now for Middle East, for Asia that side, Middle East. Come see wetin dey happen. I do one news for here when Bashar al-Assad, which is the president of Syria, one rebel group take driver comot from im own country based on the guy don gbab the country for many years, the family don gbab am for many years, e no wan comot from power and e no dey develop the country, dem come drive am. Come see wetin neighbors dey do. If you think say this war is still different from the time when dem dey use horse and sword take dey fight, you better rethink. E no dey different because we just dey do am in a modernized way. Come see Turkey president wey dem dey call Erdogan. The guy na e be like say he wan invade Syria. And as if that one no still dey enough, Iraq wan still invade Syria. As if that one no still dey enough, Israel don even enter Syria. For country wey no dey follow dem dey fight o, dem don still enter Syria now. All of dem wan break Syria. Even the guy one place wey dem dey call Golan Heights, Israel na don Colombia, dem don dey move their citizens dey go there make dem go stay. If na really neighbors wey get their fellow country at heart, as the thing happen so, then the people wey even take power for the country na for them to come meeting, diplomatic meeting, roundtable meeting on how to build Syria, trade, business partners, not to invade Syria. Egypt dey this side, as Egypt, Israel dey this side, Iraq dey this side, Erdogan, which is Turkey, he dey this side. They wan just crush Syria finish. It is well, even in the well. So now the government there is aware, all is well. And the friend and the person when he said always say bring una back to back update. Peace.
Geopolitics is a cutthroat world. If you display weakness, you're done. Others will jump to capitalize on your vulnerability. Just ask Syria. They're facing threats from all sides, from Israel, from Iran, and pretty soon, maybe Turkey. President Erdogan of Turkey is reportedly making moves. He is building up military forces near the Syrian border. We're talking about Turkish commandos, militias allied to Ankara, and a lot of artillery. They have amassed near the city of Kobani. It is located in northern Syria and borders Turkey. The US says an incursion is imminent, that Erdogan will order his troops to invade Syria. And why would he do that? To neutralize the Syrian Kurds. Now, some quick background here. Kurds are an ethnic group spread across West Asia. You have Kurds in Iran, in Turkey, in Syria, and in Iraq. The Syrian Kurds are supported by the United States. They control considerable parts of northern Syria. They help the Americans fight the Islamic State. But Erdogan says the Kurds themselves are terrorists. In the past, he's talked about pushing them away from the Turkish border. He's also talked about creating a buffer zone, a sort of no man's land between Turkey and Syria. And now that he's moving troops, there is fear of an invasion. Today, Erdogan was hosting European officials. He did not reveal much about his plans, but he did say that he would not allow Kurdish terror groups to flourish in Syria. Listen in.
The fight against Islamic State and the Kurdistan Workers' Party militants and its extensions topped the list of issues we discussed in our talks. Turkey is the only country that defeated both terrorist organizations on the ground. It is the only NATO member to do so. We will certainly not allow these organizations to grow.
Now, the Kurds are worried. A top Syrian Kurdish official has written to Donald Trump. He wants the incoming US president to help. Listen to what he says, and I'm quoting, "Turkey's goal is to establish de facto control over our land before you take office, forcing you to engage with them as rulers of our territory." The Kurds know that they are vulnerable. They've already been driven out of some Syrian cities. If Turkey enters the battlefield, it will get worse, which is why they are turning to Donald Trump. But will he help them? Well, history is not favorable. In 2019, Trump pulled out some US soldiers from Syria. He also did not object to an offensive by Turkey. The Kurds were stunned by his decision then. They accused the US of betraying them after years of fighting together. Now, it's not clear if Trump will do the same again, but he made a big statement on Monday. He said that Turkey will play a major role in Syria's future.
Syria has a lot of, there's a lot of indefinites. Nobody knows what's going to happen with Syria. But I think Turkey is going to hold the key to Syria, actually. I don't think you've heard that from anybody else, but I've been pretty good at predicting.
Does he mean that in a good sense, or is that a warning to Erdogan? As always, Trump did not bother to clarify, so frankly, things are not looking good for the Kurds. You've got a lame duck president in Washington, an unfavorable president coming up, and a massive Turkish build-up at the border. What do the new rulers of Damascus make of this? We're talking about the HTS, or Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. They're in charge in Damascus. They have talked about forming an inclusive regime. So do they approve of this Turkish plan? Listen to the rebel spokesman.
As for the Kurds, they are one of the components of the Syrian people, and we are very keen that this group has its rights protected. The social fabric in Syria is a source of strength and not weakness. But we affirm that we don't any part of Syria to be separated.
Now, two things to note here. One, the rebels do want Kurds to be part of Syria. But two, they don't like Kurdish autonomy. They want the country united under one regime in Damascus. Of course, that depends on the political process, how inclusive and fair it is. But the problem goes beyond Kurds and Turkey. Regional players sense Syria's weakness, so they're carving up the country. Yesterday, Israel dropped a bomb on Tartus. It is the second largest port city in Syria. Israel attacked it. And look at the size of that mushroom cloud. The blast was so big that it triggered an earthquake. And what was Israel targeting here? Syria's military assets, mostly those belonging to the ousted regime. Israel is also pushing further into the Golan Heights. This is technically Syrian land. Israel occupied it in 1967, and since then it has been in Israeli control, the Golan Heights. After Assad fell, Israel took over a buffer zone in Golan Heights. They're also sending more people to this region. The goal is to double the Israeli population in the Golan Heights. More settlements, more control. That's the idea. Of course, the Americans won't criticize Israel. They will ring alarm bells over Turkey. They will warn about ISIS. But Israel can drop earthquake bombs on a sovereign country, a country that's not even at war with them. And the risk here is obvious. Israel has taken out most of Syria's strategic military capabilities. I'm talking about jets, warships, and missiles. Turkey is looking to push deep into northern Syria. They want to create a buffer zone. And the US is sitting pretty in the south with a military base. So what is Syria left with? A crippled military, frequent air raids, and neighbors invading at will. This is a make or break moment for Syria. Their people have a shot at stability after years of fighting. Instead of helping them, Syria's neighbors are making things worse. They want to exploit Syria's vulnerability. It's a risky and irresponsible move, one that could leave Syria even more broken and destabilized.